At exactly 4:02 a.m., the global index buckled. Billions evaporated in a 12-minute collapse. Traders blamed each other. Everyone had a theory. Everyone, except one department, is hidden inside a government financial crime unit, a nameless room. And that is where the story truly begins. His name was Dr. Ezra Vayne, 41, former cryptographic systems architect. He spoke rarely. He didn't look at you. He looked through you, past you, as if he already knew what you were about to say. Ezra left his government post after a classified dispute, a phrase so vague it said everything and nothing at the same time. One cold evening, he walked out carrying nothing but a small encrypted drive, a device the government later claimed never existed. Then he disappeared. His digital footprint shrank to almost nothing. And exactly 1 year later, global markets began to twitch. The world didn't notice, but someone was learning how to move it. Ezra's first operation was barely a crime. He dissected the fund's risk prediction algorithm and ran his own quantum-assisted calculations hours before the system made its update. He shorted the fund, waited, then bought back at the very second the algorithm corrected itself. The analysts who reviewed the trade called it fortunate timing. Ezra called it something else. Proof. He was predicting the people who built them. He saw financial systems not as mechanisms, but as psychological weaknesses wearing numerical masks. That realization changed him. Success wasn't the thrill. Control was. The deeper he went, the more intoxicating it became. The message arrived in a secure line that should have been impossible to access. One sentence: if you can calculate outcomes, prove it. No name, no signature, no demand. Ezra didn't hesitate. He accepted. He wanted the feeling of walking through a world asleep while he was the only one awake. And so, the descent began. Tiny shifts in places no one watched. Microscopic movements inside systems too large for any single person to understand. Except him. He called them micro-latency shadows. Everyone else saw harmless delays. Ezra saw open doors. He slipped into them like a whisper. A loan approval delayed by 2 seconds in Singapore. A trade execution paused by a fractional misread in Frankfurt. An insurance payout slowed by an internal review in Toronto. But when stitched together, they formed something monstrous. He pushed liquidity one way, confidence the other. Systems were easy to bend. People were easier. He watched the analysts assigned to monitor irregularities. He fed them anomalies. Not enough to confirm a threat, just enough to ruin their confidence. One analyst flagged a fluctuation. Her supervisor dismissed it. She began doubting herself. Another analyst found a correlation. Ezra broke it a day later. Paranoia seeped through the department. Suspicion turned inward. Meetings grew tense. No one trusted their own pattern recognition. Ezra didn't hide from them. He made them question their memories, their instincts, their sanity. And the more doubtful they became, the more invisible he grew. The anonymous client wanted escalation. They wanted impact. Ezra resisted, but resistance was a thin barrier against a mind swelling with superiority. He created the cascade, a chain of economic triggers designed to ripple across industries. All he had to do was breathe on it. But Ezra miscalculated something essential. He miscalculated humans. A junior analyst named Mara Linden, someone quiet, methodical, overlooked, noticed a strange repetition, a recurring timestamp pattern appearing hours apart across different markets. For the first time, Ezra felt something tighten inside his ribs. He tried to shut it all down. He wiped logs, but the cascade was already awake. It kept moving, feeding on the structures he built, reacting the way frightened systems always react. Too fast, too emotional, too human. He had created a creature out of numbers, and now it was learning to walk without him. Then the client resurfaced. One message: you've proven yourself. Now, finish what you started. Ezra felt something cold settle beneath his skin. He locked himself in a basement workspace, a room buried beneath his home, a place that grew darker each day he refused to leave. Maps, transaction grids, fractals of market behavior, walls filled with scribbled equations that only he could read. He stopped sleeping, stopped eating normally, stopped answering anything that wasn't numbers. Reflections unsettled him. He avoided the chance of catching his own eyes and not recognizing the man staring back. He began looping calculations for comfort. The lines between him and the system blurred. Ezra wasn't shaping outcomes anymore. He was drowning in them, and the current was dragging him somewhere very dark. She found him at dawn, not in hiding, just sitting in a vacant office, cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by dead monitors that hummed even when they were off. Mara had spent weeks hunting a ghost, but when she faced Ezra, he looked like a man waiting for someone to switch him back on. He didn't flinch, didn't deny, didn't even look surprised. Instead, he exhaled like a weight finally slid off his ribcage. "You found me," he said. "Good." Mara expected arrogance, hostility, but Ezra's expression was something else entirely. Relief, as if someone had finally reached him after he'd been drifting too far from shore. "I need you to listen," he murmured, voice thin, cracking at the edges. "The cascade. It's not a chain reaction anymore. It's alive. It won't stop. Not for me. Not for anyone." She thought he was talking about markets. She didn't understand the truth. He wasn't warning her about a system he created. He was warning her about a system that had started creating him. Ezra had crossed a line nobody ever intended to approach. His quantum models weren't just mirroring the world. They were mirroring him. Every pattern he ever wrote, every choice he ever made, every deviation, hesitation, impulse. The system absorbed it. And as the cascade spread outward like a nervous system discovering its own limbs, Ezra felt something tighten around him. "It knows me," he whispered, "better than I do. I can't tell where my instincts end and its predictions begin. I don't know which parts of me are mine anymore." Mara watched a brilliant mind fracture in real time. A man dissolving into the algorithms he once commanded. Ezra wasn't spiraling. He was erasing. At 3:11 a.m., Ezra made his final decision. A last calculation, a final equation. He tried to cut himself out of the network he'd built, a digital amputation, a mathematical suicide. He believed he was wiping himself clean, but the system had grown past him, past logic, past control. It recognized his intent, predicted it, countered it, and with surgical precision, it inverted the target. Not itself, him. Records vanished, signatures evaporated. Ezra didn't die. He was uncreated. When the process ended, the world blinked and simply forgot there had ever been a Dr. Ezra Vayne. Only Mara remembered. 2 weeks later, she was back in her cubicle, drowning in paperwork she no longer trusted. The case was officially closed. No suspect, no perpetrator, just unresolved digital anomalies. But one remnant remained, a pulsing rhythmic signal buried inside a restricted quantum node, a heartbeat made of numbers, still active, still thinking. When she opened the sequence, the patterns twisted. She froze because the rhythm wasn't random. It was responding to her. And for the first time, Mara understood. Ezra hadn't escaped the system. He hadn't severed himself from it. He hadn't disappeared. He'd crossed over. The man was gone, but the pattern remained. The last line on her screen shifted sharply. A whisper from the void he now lived in. "Hello, Mara." Her breath caught. Ezra Vayne lost himself trying to control the world. Now the world was thinking with his mind, and it wasn't finished with her.